Michelle Hope here from Demons and Diamonds, and welcome to video number 2, making the components. So that's it, you've done the first video, you've taken a look at the contents, you know the tools that you require, you've got everything together, you've made the base for your crown, and we're ready to rock and roll. Make sure you put the kettle on and you've made yourself a nice cup of tea. Let's sit back and let's start making your crown. So we're going to do the first part of this, and we're going to make the little skull in the flower cap beads. I'm just going to show you how to do that now. You need to take your piece of wire, you need to take a piece of strip of tape, and you need to pinch and twist that on. Make sure you pull this tight, like I've said, because as you can see here, the bit that's not been pulled doesn't actually attach to anything because it hasn't got the sticky part. So just pull that off. So once you've got it pulled on, I'll just bend that so you can just see how I twist it. Pull and twist, pull and twist. Pull this piece taut with this hand, pinch and twist with this hand. You're going to need a little piece of this just in the centre of this wire. So I'm going to put the skull bead on there, and we're going to pull those round, pinch just behind the back of the skull bead. So you can pinch that there. Cross this over just slightly, pinch those two pieces of wire together and twist the bead. You need to pop the flower skull cap on, put it up to the top, may just be a little bit tighter because obviously where you've put the two pieces of wire together. And if it starts falling down a little bit, or if it's not quite as snug as that, you need to take the top part and wrap around the top to make just like a little nodule at the back. So again, pull and twist behind, and then you can start pulling the wire, the tape. You can start pulling the tape down the rest of the wire. You don't need to go all the way because we're going to cut part of this off anyway. So there you have, if you can see, you've got a little bit more of a built-up nodule just at the base of the flower so that doesn't move back down, and then you just tape down most of the way of the wire. I'll show you that one more time. So the same principle we're going to use throughout the whole of the wiring process of this pinch and twist technique of putting this tape, florist tape, to the wire. Like I said, you can do this manually like this. If you get into a bit where it's a bit awkward, which we'll show you in a second, there'll be bound to be a bit of a flower that's awkward, can't quite get your fingers behind, but we'll show you that in a second. Put your skull bead on, pinch that piece of wire behind, because you've obviously got that little step back there in the back of the neck part. Just pinch it in there. If you find that you need to pinch it a little bit tighter and you don't want to use your fingers, or you're not quite as strong with your fingers, then you can just use the little nose pliers just to pinch that in together there. But once you've got those two meeting in the middle, cross them over, hold and pinch there, and twist. Those two pieces of wire will twist together nicely and hold your bead in place. A little bit extra behind the base of that flower head. Before you take the tape down the rest of the wire. You don't have to take it all the way to the end. So again, you can see we've just made a little nodule just underneath the base of the flower so it doesn't slip down, and it's nice and secure. If you didn't want to do them like this, you can save the little flower caps and we can put them onto the ends of the ribbon when we get to the end. So if you wanted to do a couple like this with the skull in the little plastic flower cap, and you wanted to leave a couple without this flower cap, you can pop them into these roses. Okay, so now I've done the skull beads, we're just going to move on and go into the back beads, and this is going to be exactly the same principle of putting the wire through the hole, pulling it down to the back, twisting it together and taping it. So I'm just going to do that quickly for you. This time though, you don't need to put any tape actually onto the wire first, because these don't slip round as easy as the other ones. There is actually a front and a back to the bat. You can see the little eyes on the front of these bats, they're extremely cute. So taping and wiring from the back of the bat. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how we do this, because obviously getting that behind there may be a little bit awkward and a little bit fiddly. So we're going to start further down the wire and we're going to go back up the wire. And because you're pulling and twisting, the wire naturally follows its own line. The tape follows its own line, sorry. And if you get to the top and you just need to do that manually around there rather than pinch and twisting, you can do that. Just a little bit of extra wire around the top, tape around the top. I keep calling the tape the wire, it's very annoying. Twist it back down again and you've got a taped bat. Do that one more time for you and the other ones are done. So again, you don't need to put any tape on this wire. You put it through the bat, pull it round, cross the pieces over, pinch and twist. Nice and securely. Start off with the tape further down, twist back up towards the bead. And then twist that round. And then twist the wire back down. So now you have back beads and your skull beads done. And we can move on to the feather parts. So we have the feathers. You should have around 10 feathers or so. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take hold of our piece of wire. You're going to get hold of your feather and you're going to hold this on the back. Now this is the same technique that we're going to use to do the leaves, when you need to put a wire on the base of the leaf. So you put your finger underneath the feather and pinch. You pull the two pieces of feathered wire down, and you need to leave a little bit of a tail on this. So you need to take this round and twist. Pull this one piece down straight, twist this piece round it. Okay, so then you should have your feather attached with a little piece there that just holds it back, and the tail of the feather is just in there with that wire. I'll show you that again. You need to repeat this 10 times obviously, so we're going to fast forward that bit in a minute. Give yourself a good little half a thumbnail piece of feather left there. Pinch in the centre of the wire, hold one piece down and cross it down, hold the other piece down and then take that over and down the rest of the wire. It doesn't matter how neat it is, it doesn't matter if you've got a little bit of a rough piece of wire, it doesn't matter, just as long as you've got it secured it in there, you shouldn't have any problems. Obviously now what we're going to do is we're going to tape from up here down, so that this holds this wire onto the feather and tapes in, so you're not going to get anything to pull away. So it will look like this. Just going to tape one of those up for you, and then I'm going to carry on and do the rest of the feathers. Now you can start at the top, you can start further down, you can start wherever you like. Easier here because you can twist this easy because it's not an unusual shape. So I would twist down, go back up a little bit, just incorporate the base of that flower, that feather, just incorporate the base of that feather. And then pull, twist, pull and twist. And you should have a encased feather base onto your wire, lovely and secure. I'm going to show you that one more time on this one. So if you start just here, twist, you can go up, so just pull it at this angle up and twist and it will go naturally up, incorporate part of that feather base, and then if you just pull it down and twist that way, then it'll incorporate the rest of it. You will find your own natural rhythm when you're doing the taping. You don't have to do it in exactly the same way that I do it. It doesn't have to be anywhere near as quick as I do it. It doesn't have to be anywhere near as thin or as non-chunky. But it doesn't have to be neat either, because let's face it, it's just going to be exactly as you want it. As long as it's secure and it's not going to fall out of there, it doesn't matter what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and tape the rest of these feathers. Obviously put me on pause, and when I come back I'd have taped all my feathers, so tape your feathers, catch up, and then we'll meet back in a second when they're done. Okay, so I'm back and I've done all of the 10 feathers. All wired, all taped and all ready to go. This gives it a lovely texture, the crown, completely different texture. Okay, so if you're not quite caught up yet, then obviously pause and be back in a second. I'm going to move on to doing the leaves. Exactly the same principle as we did with the feathers. We're going to take hold of the leaf. I'm finding that a little bit annoying because it has a little nodule, so I'm going to just pop that off. Hold it behind, wrap round, pull down, wrap round and pull down. Okay, show you that one more time. It's got quite a long length on this piece. You could actually put this straight actually to the crown, but I do like to give myself a little bit more with the actual wire, so it's a little bit more movable. So I'm actually going to take just a little bit off of there. So wrap that round a couple of times and put it down straight. Wrap that round the rest of the one. Put that down. You see that? Exactly the same principle as the feathers. So now I'm going to tape these in exactly the same way again. This is all the really boring part. So when we get to put it all together, it's the fun, creative part of it. This part's all the bit that needs to be done. So now we have our set of leaves done as well. They're all ready to go. So I'm going to put those to one side, and I think I'm going to do the spikes next. Okay, so I've got a couple of spikes here already taped up and wired. And as you can see, on the one that isn't, there is a loop, because these are made for beads and necklaces and stuff. There is a loop, so to stop this from flapping around, we are taping right up to just over the base of that loop, and that stops them from moving around, but you can then put them into whichever position you like. So you, again, take your wire, put it through. We don't need to put tape on this again. Like I said, the only reason we did that with the skulls is so that the skull heads didn't twist around. But you're going to pull and pinch that down. You're going to keep one piece down there, and you're just going to twist exactly like we did with the head. So now you've got your twisted piece of wire, but you have a loose. So take your tape, and exactly the same principle as we've done with everything else. Take it round that little base, pull it down, twist, and that holds it straight. Now I have my spikes done. So if you want to go ahead and do 3 of your spikes, leave one in the bag of beads, that's going to go on the bottom of your ribbons. So you should have 3 spikes in there. Now what you should have left is the sprigs. Now there's going to probably be a couple of the orchid beads, orchid buds in there as well. They just give another texture to the crown. You may have a little sprig of something like this. And you're going to have these little sprigs here. I've cut all these ready so that I've left plenty of room, because this is one long piece where they would sit like that. And what I've done is I've cut them so that you've got the longer piece at the bottom and nothing at the top. So you've got these little sprigs, and I'm actually going to leave these exactly as they are. We're not going to wire those, we're just going to leave them as they are because it's a lot easier to attach them as they are. So we're going to move on to the flowers. You should have some of these little roses in there. You may have a slightly bigger rose. Same principle is going to apply to that bigger rose. You may find that you have some slightly different flowers in there, but I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques of how you actually wire them on so that you can do them. What you are going to need for this part of it is your lighter. Okay, so we're going to go on to wiring the flowers to start off with. Now there is actually a hole that runs right the way through the centre of this flower, so I'm going to show you how we're going to wire that on, because if we obviously put a wire through it, it's going to be sliding up and down, so you won't obviously be able to secure it this end. So we're actually going to heat the wire up and push it through, so you will need your lighter for this part. Now what I've also just looked into is thinking about how you can change up the way that you put your piece together. Well, we've done the skull caps and we've done the skull flowers with the little caps on the back. If you didn't want to do them like this, you can save the little flower caps and we can put them onto the ends of the ribbon when we get to the end. So if you wanted to do a couple like this with the skull in the little plastic flower cap, and you wanted to leave a couple without this flower cap, you can pop them into these roses. I think this is really, really cute, and obviously because you've already taped all of this, if you just find the hole at the top through the centre of the flower and push your wire all the way through, all we're going to have to do now is tape down this piece so that it's actually secure. Just going to show you how we do this now. So you take your bead that you've left your plastic flower cap off of, okay? What you are going to have to do is just snip off some of this, about half of it. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're coming to put it onto the flower crown to bend it how you want it. Thread it through and pull it tight in so it sits in lovely like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tape this on here so we don't have it moving around. So start it off manually because it'd be a lot easier than trying to pull the tape with this little flower behind its head. Pull that on there so that you're securing the base of that flower onto the wire, and then do exactly as we've been doing with the pull, twist and pinch technique. So you now have a little skull bead sat perfectly in the centre of that little flower rose. I didn't do this on the original sample because I didn't actually have these roses at the time, but this looks really sweet. So you can have a mix of the two. So these other three, I'm just going to show you how we're going to do that, because obviously we can't push this through, it will slip through. So you're going to cut these in half, cut these down, and instead of pushing it through the hole, we're actually going to heat up the end of the wire. It won't get too hot down this part, so you'll be fine if you're holding it further down, and then you need to push it through. Okay, pull that down and wrap one piece of this around the base of that flower and onto the other piece of the wire. You can give it a twist and you've got that nice and securely. I should just show you that again. Burn the end of that piece of wire. It should get quite hot, but it won't get too hot further down, so hold it a bit further down and push it through that nodule of... Now I didn't do it quick enough, so I only went halfway, so if you just pull it back out and do it again quickly, push that through the rest of the plastic nodule. You pull that down, take one piece and wrap it round, and you can give it a twist and you've got your flower on your wire. So now I've got my flowers done, 2 with the skulls in and the rest is normal, all taped and all ready to go. And we're going to move on to the orchids. Now I've got a couple of these orchids already done. I've actually chopped some of these off because this is from when I made the sample one, so the wires have been cut off a little bit shorter, but you will obviously have your lengthy piece of wire left there, but I've just literally cut it off where your tape stops, because you don't need much more of that. When we actually come to taping them onto the crown, you'll be cutting off those extra lengths anyway. So I've just got a couple of those done, and I'm just going to show you how I do these ones. What you will do need though is you'll need your slightly heavier gauge wires. You should be able to see the difference. This is the one we've been using. This is a slightly heavier gauge one. You'll need 3 of those, or however many. Obviously you need as many as you need for your orchids. Now, because there is no hole all the way through, it actually has a stopper piece. What we're going to use is a different technique. So rather than burning and pulling through, we're actually going to fold this in half, pinch it at the end, fold it in half, and you're going to need to pinch that shut so that it goes through the gap. Okay, now because this is quite loose, what we're actually going to do is we're going to heat this up. So if you hold your flower ready, heat this up, heat the tip up. Again, be really careful where you do this, and you're going to pop that in to that hole. Now you're going to push, but you're going to stop so you don't come through the other side. So what will happen now is the heat of the wire will melt that plastic around it, and it will hold it in place. That's on there really securely now. I'll show that for you again. So with your wire you need to bend it over in half, pinch at the top, squeeze together with your tweezers, with your pliers, get your flower ready, heat the end up, taking care not to touch that end, putting it through into the base of the wire, not pushing too hard so you don't come out the other end, and there you have it. Almost instantly that holds on and grips tight. So we're going to take the tape and you're going to hold it at that end of that nodule, and you're going to wrap around, pull and wrap around so that you get hold of that end piece. If it breaks, literally just go back over yourself again. Pull, twist and pinch as we've been doing. Just hold it with that little thumbnail with your finger, twist round. You can do the starting at the bottom and going back up technique if that's easier. Like I said, you will find your own rhythm with the way that you tape things. Some people are really quick at it, some people go quite slow. Okay. So now you have your orchids done as well. So that should be everything that you've got ready, and we're going to now go over and start constructing the crown. Hi, that's it. Okay, well done. You've got through video number 2. You've managed to make the components. So now we've been through the contents of the kit. We've made the base for the crown, and we've made all the components. How did you find that? I'm hoping that you're finding my instructions quite clear. So now I'm going to leave you to go and finish off wiring and taping your flowers and making all the components and all the elements that you need to then start going on to video number 3. Video number 3. And that is going to be building your crown. I can't wait, can you? I'll see you back here for video number 3. Bye!